Hey, do you think comics started with Superman in 1938? Think again. You're totally wrong. Get ready to have your mind blown.
Blah! By the might of Zeus! No time for antiquity, only
1,300 years before Christ, ancient Egyptians were already drawing the first superhero on papyrus, and he fought the god of death.
Quandary, the great funny.
200 years before the light bulb was invented, a Swiss teacher printed the world's very first comic book, and nobody even knew his name for 150 years.
blast! The confusion is aplenty.
And get this, manga didn't actually start in Japan. It began with a Chinese monk in the 5th century.
Stirring of the celestial power from the dragon's domain.
Welcome to a journey into the immortal secrets of comics. A story older than the pyramids themselves, and packed with twists you'd never expect.
Blast! The infinite shifts must continue.
Let's rewind 3,300 years to ancient Egypt. Back when Earth didn't even have smartphones, Egyptians already had a next-level way of storytelling. They created the Papyrus of Ani, a scroll nearly 24 meters long, divided into over 100 sequential frames. Imagine that, a colossal manga scroll about Ani, an ordinary hero who used magic to punch out Amit, the soul-devouring monster. Fun fact, this comic scroll is 3 times longer than One Piece's 1,000th chapter. That's right, the first recorded superhero storyline dates all the way back to ancient Egypt. Continuing our journey, let's jump to the 12th century Europe. No newspapers, no TikTok,
No TikTok!
but they had something super cool. Church stained glass windows. Each glass pane was a story frame, telling Bible stories through images. Fun fact, back then, people read the Bible by looking at these windows, exactly like you scroll through online comics today. Comics, in a way, have existed for ages, just in different forms. And then, in 1830 in Geneva, there was this art teacher named Rodolphe Töpffer. He was an absolute visionary. He self-published what's considered the world's first printed comic, Histoire de Mr. Vieux-Bois. Most importantly, it had motion lines. You know, those little streaks behind characters when they're running? Fun fact, Töpffer invented this motion lines technique almost a century before Japanese manga even existed, and it's still used today. Even though Töpffer became the forgotten father, his work sold 1 million copies in America by 1842, proving the incredible appeal of this new
Blast it
format.
all! My thoughts are broken! Broken, I say!
In 1895, Richard F. Outcault introduced the Yellow Kid in the newspaper. Initially, all of the kid's dialogue was printed directly on his distinctive yellow shirt. That's right, because speech bubbles simply didn't exist yet. But just 1 year later, in 1896, pop! The first actual speech bubble appeared. Fun fact, this very pop gave birth to the modern comic strip format, and ever since, every superhero has had a dedicated place to speak. Many folks assume manga started in Japan with Hokusai around 1814. But hold on. The history of visual storytelling goes much, much further back. As early as the 5th century, Chinese monk Gu Kaiji was drawing narrative scrolls that stretched 9 meters long.
ありがとう。我弟弟到下你妈后也好了。
By the 12th century, Japan had Choju Jinbutsugiga, the first animal comic strip, without text, just pure images. Fun fact, this scroll is the ancestor of animal comics, and it came out long before Astro Boy or Doraemon ever did. This truly shows that the art of visual storytelling is an innate human drive across the globe. Sadly, comics haven't always had an easy ride. In the mid-20th century, they faced a brutal challenge, pushed to the brink of extinction for the 3rd time. In 1954, a psychiatrist named Frederick Wertham ignited a firestorm with his book accusing Batman and Robin of teaching homosexuality. Panic spread, leading the US Congress to ban violent comics. Thousands of artists went bankrupt.
Broken, I say!
Fun fact, even Superman had to remove his iconic red trunks from the outside of his suit to look more decent. It was a dark, tumultuous period for this art form. In 1918, a 7-year-old boy named Lee Falk made a promise. I will draw the Phantom until I die. And he actually did it. From 1936 to 1999, he drew a staggering 32,711 pages of the Phantom. 6 panels every single week, without a single day off. Fun fact, that's over 60 years of non-stop drawing. A real-life superhero promise, proving that passion can overcome all limits and rescue an art form on the verge of collapse. So, when did comics truly begin? The simplest answer is, whenever humans had a story to tell and wanted to tell it with pictures. From ancient Egyptian mummies to European stained glass, Tupfer's breakthroughs, the birth of the speech bubble, ancient Asian scrolls, and through wars and miraculous resurrections. Today, we have a whole new universe for storytelling. AI can draw a chapter in 30 seconds. An original Batman page fetches $2.9 million, and webtoons rack up 1.2 billion views. Final fun fact. The tools might change, from quill pens to AI, but our fundamental human need to tell stories through images will never, ever change. So, what will you draw to tell your story? The future of comics is literally in your hands.